Disney's Moana, Chapter 18. Holding their course through the night, Moana used everything Maui had taught her, sensing the wind in her face, tracking the stars as they rose and set, using the swells of the ocean to keep time. From his seat in the bow, Maui shot her a proud look. A light began to glow, but it wasn't coming from the east. Looking down, Moana saw that her shell necklace was lit from within. The heart of Te Fiti was shining through the cracks. Moana looked at Maui, who checked the horizon. There in the distance hung an angry mass of dark clouds. Beyond them, she saw the hint of land. Moana turned questioning eyes to Maui, who nodded. Te Fiti, he confirmed. Something white and fluffy drifted past her face and her nose tingled oddly. Looking around, she saw more little specks filling the air, landing on the boat and in Maui's hair everywhere. Could this be snow? She'd heard tales of unseasonably cold storms whipping snow down from the mountains, but the air didn't feel cold. A fleck landed on her arm, the grayish spot standing out against her brown skin. No, definitely not cold. Peering closer, Moana realized it was ash, which meant something was burning nearby. As they drew closer to the clouds, she realized the source of the ash. To get to Te Fiti, they would have to cross through a ring of barrier islands, each one a blackened, jagged crag. Smoke seeped up from within them, hence the ash that hung over the ocean for miles around. The ominous circle of rocks almost seemed to be holding Te Fiti hostage. Running a hand along the canoe's hull, Maui lifted up a pinch of ash and rubbed it between his thumb and forefinger, a frown crossing his face. His eyes narrowed in determination. "It's Maui time," he said, his voice fierce. Moana was impressed by his bravado. Puffing up his chest, Maui strutted to the bow. "Te ka!" he bellowed, the call reverberating off the clouds of ash. A shiver ran through Moana as a flare of red lit up one of the barrier islands and a thick plume of smoke rolled up into the sky. A menacing aura pervaded the air, and the hair on her arms prickled with alarm. Hehe popped up his head, took one look around, then ducked back down into the cargo hold. Maui's form wavered, then steadied, proof that he was nervous as well. "You ready?" Moana asked. "Hun," Maui said, putting on his warrior face, but it was a bit lackluster. "Hun," Maui shouted back, leaning close to him with a warrior face of her own. "Hun," he yelled, his features pulled into a scary grimace. Nodding in approval, Moana took the stone from her necklace and wrapped one of his hands around it. "Go save the world," she told him. With a burst of feathers, Maui shifted into a hawk and launched off the boat, streaking toward Te Fiti. "Chee-hoo!" Moana called after him, her fist lifted into the sky. Cheered by her cry, the hawk flew faster, zipping through the air. As he reached the outer islands, water crashed up in front of him with a hiss, steam, and ash exploding in his path. From the smoky cloud, a fiery figure emerged, large as a mountain, deep cracks revealing the lava beneath the surface of its charred skin and allowing it to ooze out in orange flames. The monster's eyes and mouth burned in rage, and in a very literal fire as it screamed at Maui. "Maui, Moana breathed his name in a whisper, suddenly understanding why the demigod had been so dubious about their chances before. Maui banked up, trying to fly around the fiery creature, but Te Ka reared higher, filling the sky. Swinging a giant molten hand, the lava monster knocked Maui away. "No!" Moana cried, watching her friend crumple and drop through the air. Grabbing the oar and loosening the main line, Moana tacked into the wind, racing toward him. As Maui spiraled down, his powers seemed to waver, his feathers molting into skin, then scales, then back to skin as he smacked into the ocean. Leaning over, Moana hauled him aboard as she sailed past. The demigod collapsed in the boat, sides heaving, clearly hurt, but as they headed straight for the barrier islands, he sat up in alarm. "What are you doing?" he sputtered. "Finding you a better way in," Moana replied, her face set in determination. Swinging the boom, Moana pivoted the boat through the water, aiming for a gap in the islands. But barreling along the rocks toward the same gap was the giant figure of Te Ka, the lava monster's hands stretched out in claws. "We won't make it!" Maui cried, pointing to Te Ka. Shaking her head, Moana gripped the oar tighter and tacked again. They had to make it. Just a little bit farther and they'd be through. The wind was on their side, pushing them faster and faster. Maui lunged up from the bottom of the canoe, reaching for the oar. "Turn around! Stop! Moana, stop!" he yelled. They wrestled for the oar until finally Maui shouldered her aside. With a powerful thrust, he dug the oar into the sea, breaking hard. The canoe spun sharply, throwing Moana against the hull. But it was too late. Te Ka was upon them. Her arms flung over the side of the canoe. Moana watched in horror as Te Ka's monstrous fist slammed down toward them. The monster's face twisted vengefully. Paralyzed, Moana felt her heart skip. This was it. They weren't going to make it. At the last moment, Maui surged up, flipping its hook over his head to block Te Ka. Boom! Fist and fishhook smashed together, the shock of the impact curling up massive tidal waves. The canoe rocketed to the top of one, riding it out to sea. Looking back, Moana could see Te Ka over the next crest of waves, lunging to follow, but something restrained the giant. Te Ka's arms scraped at the air as its body seemed trapped by an invisible force. Could Te Ka be tied to the barrier islands? Whatever the reason, they left Te Ka behind, the ocean rolling them farther and farther out of reach.